And I looked all over YouTube and I couldn't find what to do. What happened on this car is the compressor locked up on the air conditioner. Well, and eventually the bearing seized. And if you look down in there, I've got the fan shroud off right now. I'm going to take it and have it serviced next week, but I was on my way back on a long trip from Dallas, Texas to Houston, Texas, about 250 miles, 300 miles, I don't know how far it was, a long ways, 4-hour drive. Anyway, that sucker down in there, you see it, it's locked up tighter than Dick's hat band. No bueno. So, and if you'll look at your car, you'll notice there's a tensioning, the tensioner's off. I've taken the tensioner, the belt tensioner, completely off, because what I had to do, I stopped for gas on the way back and it locked up and it wouldn't start. If this happens to you and you need to get it home, look at this belt routing right here, okay? You go around here, up there, down around the flywheel, back around the flywheel, up over the water pump, back down around that pulley, and then there we are back at the beginning. Now, the smaller, that belt that's on there is 80 and 3/8. You could probably go down to 70 and 7/8, or 79 and 7/8, or maybe even a little shorter. But it's going to be harder to get that pulling on. What we're doing here is there's pretty good tension on this belt. If you look at this belt, it's got pretty good tension on it. It doesn't squeak. It squeaked a little bit at first, but it doesn't squeak anymore. And this will get you where you need to go. But if you use a little shorter belt, it's going to be a little harder to put that tension on. But the way I did it is I took that idler off right there, and the belt was sort of taut across there, and I used that idler when I pushed it over the bearing, because the bearing race seats out where the bearing seats on the block right there. There's a protrusion where the bearing sits over, and that's what the bearing rides on, and it's pretty easy to slip it down over that. And so I used that for the to get the tension on the belt. But what I was going to say is, if you find a little shorter belt, like it's 79, then you can take the idler arm pulley, because all these bearing races, that pulley, and that pulley all have the same size lengths, or same size bearing seats. So, and the bolts are all the same. So you can interchange those pulleys, because that pulley's a little larger than those. And notice that's an outside pulley and that's an inside pulley, or the back of the belt, and that'll be that's the inside of the belt, and that's the back of the belt. So that's how you fix it, and it'll get you where you need to go. It'll get your alternator turning, get your power steering running, and also run your water pump and your fan. It worked for me, got me home, and it'll get me to the shop without having to pay. It was going to be a $500 towing bill, and there was no way I was doing that. And she runs fine.